Call the meeting to order, please. This is the Village of Riverside's Board of Trustees regular meeting for Thursday, October 15, 2020. The time is 7 p.m. Please call the roll.
President Sells.
Here.
Trustee Collins.
Here.
Trustee Gallegos.
Here.
Trustee Evans.
Here.
Trustee Pollock.
Here.
Attorney Mars.
Here.
Also present, Village Manager / Deputy Clerk Francis.
Thank you very much. If you'll please join us for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to those here tonight and those of you watching at home. If you are here and you would like to address the board at any time, I just ask that you be recognized by the president and that you make your comments from the podium so that the folks at home can hear and see what you have to say. First up is public comment. Hearing none, we'll move on to reports of village officers. I have a very happy and also kind of bittersweet report this evening, and that's a proclamation honoring one of our most devoted volunteers that I've known in my time serving the village, and that's Richard Ray. So I would like to read this proclamation. I, Benjamin Sells, Village President of the Village of Riverside, do hereby proclaim that whereas Richard Ray has provided dedicated service to the Village of Riverside on the Historical Commission, Plan Commission, and most recently the Preservation Commission since 1973, and whereas Richard Ray served as Vice Chair of the Preservation Commission since 2006, and whereas Richard Ray, during his dedicated service to the village, along with his wife Juanita, who sadly passed in 2018, were instrumental in providing designation certificates to owners of landmarked properties and assisted in the development of a published brochure of Riverside's first landmark structures. And whereas Richard Ray's extensive historic and architectural knowledge and expertise has provided immeasurable benefit establishing and preserving Riverside's historic landmark designation. And whereas Richard Ray has selflessly volunteered his time and talent to public service and has displayed great commitment and devotion to advancing the best interest of the Village of Riverside and its residents. Now therefore be it proclaimed on behalf of the Village Board of Trustees and all of the residents of the Village of Riverside that I hereby express to Richard Ray our sincere and deep appreciation for his outstanding service and dedication to the Village of Riverside and its residents. Dated this 15th day of October. Richard couldn't be with us tonight. However, the chair of our Preservation Commission is here, Charles Pipel. So I'm going to give this to Charles and ask that he please take it to Richard for us. Charlie. And I would just add to that Richard has been a fixture in Riverside government and the commissions for almost 50 years, and he's mentored countless people, including me when I was on the Preservation Commission some 15 years ago now. So he just recently resigned from the Preservation Commission, and we will all miss his intelligence and character. So, Richard, we love you, and God bless. That is all I have. Manager Francis.
I do not have a report this evening.
We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Approved voucher list of bills and contract report October 15, 2020. A resolution authorizing the village manager to create a blanket purchase order in the amount of $39,000 for the balance of the 2020 fleet fuel purchase. A resolution approving a hardscape permit application for the installation of a memorial park bench to be located at the big ballpark. A resolution approving a hardscape permit application for the installation of pass signage along the Des Plaines River between the Scout Cabin and Indian Gardens. Review and file the Parks and Recreation Board meeting minutes of January 27 and July 30. The Preservation Commission regular meeting minutes of August 13, and the Police, Fire, and Public Work Department's September 2020 monthly reports. And lastly, a motion to approve a special event application for Riverside Public Library's Story Walk. Does anyone need anything removed for discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gallegos, second by Ms. Collins. Please call the roll.
Trustee Collins.
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos.
Aye.
Trustee Evans.
Aye.
Trustee Pollock.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up are reports of departments, commissions, and trustee liaisons. Are there any liaison reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to our 2 items. Director Johns, if you would like to present them.
Good evening. I wanted to announce tonight that prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting on November 7th, we will have a public hearing for the 2020 tax levy ordinance and a public hearing for the 2021 budget.
We don't need any action on this, correct?
You don't. And I think she meant November 5th?
November 5th.
Okay, and how about, did you get both of them, or just?
Oh, sorry. November 7th, yes, both of them will be directly before the regularly scheduled board meeting.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Move on now to ordinances and resolutions. First up is a resolution honoring the nation's first responders. Manager Francis.
At the October 1st, 2020 board meeting, Trustee Gallegos inquired about the first responders, the nation's First Responders Day. On June 7th, 2019, the United States Senate passed a resolution designating October 28th as honoring the nation's First Responders Day, attached as a resolution recognizing and honoring first responders.
Thank you. So when this matter was brought up at the end of our last meeting, I really did not remember what Trustee Gallegos was talking about. I went back and looked at the prior video, and back in July, I had said that it might be an appropriate time, given the national status of this day, to make a specific comment about our first responders. So with that in mind, I drafted the following resolution to present to the board. Whereas according to a 2017 compilation of data on the emergency services sector in the United States by the Department of Homeland Security, the first responder community comprises an estimated 4.6 million career and volunteer professionals. And whereas first responders deserve to be recognized for their dedication to protect, serve, and care for their communities. And whereas on June 7, 2019, the United States Senate passed a resolution designating October 28 as honoring the nation's First Responders Day. And whereas during the COVID pandemic, first responders have exhibited exceptional courage and commitment to the public safety and well-being. And whereas the Village of Riverside's police, fire, and emergency medical service personnel have put their own health and lives at risk to ensure the public safety. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the Riverside Board of Trustees, do hereby endorse and declare October 28 as honoring the nation's First Responders Day in the Village of Riverside, and encourage all residents to express their appreciation for our local first responders who work tirelessly to keep us safe and secure. I would ask for a motion and second to.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Gallegos,
Second.
second by Mr. Pollock. Please call the roll.
Trustee Collins.
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos.
Aye.
Trustee Evans.
Aye.
Trustee Pollock.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is an ordinance amending the Village of Riverside Village Code and zoning ordinance relative to garages and driveways. Director Apt.
Yes, after several months, perhaps years of discussion regarding changes to the zoning ordinance regarding garages and driveways, in 2019, the village board created an ad hoc committee to review staff's recommendations regarding these items. The committee met a few times and discussed them and concurred with several of staff's recommendations regarding changes to the code. And where they did concur with staff, we created a text amendment that has gone through the public hearing process and has created an ordinance before you tonight. The proposed ordinance is going to clarify several things regarding driveway aprons and the driveway apron section of the code, and that's part of the municipal code versus the zoning ordinance. So it's going to clarify that that section applies to driveways and driveway aprons, establishes 10 feet is the maximum width for residential driveways, as well as 24-foot width for commercial driveways. That aprons will not exceed the width of a private driveway at the front property line. Establish specific maximum of 20 feet for abutting and shared driveways, which was not previously addressed in the ordinance. Adds a definition for a driveway apron and also creates a process to allow for larger aprons that would allow the Director of Public Works to approve a larger apron radii in consultation with the village engineer where it's determined that an alignment or road curvature issue makes a wider driveway apron necessary in order to reasonably accommodate a vehicle movement. And then it does provide a maximum that in no case shall they be approved with a radius larger than 5 feet. The text amendment also addresses private driveways in the zoning ordinance. Currently, the maximum driveway width for a detached garage is 10 feet, and for attached front-loaded garages, it's the width of the garage. The proposed text amendment clarifies that the driveway may widen to the width of a detached garage, and that this additional width may only extend for a distance of 20 feet as measured from the face of the garage before it must taper down to the 10-foot maximum width requirement. It clarifies that the 10-foot maximum and the additional width requirement also apply to attached side load and rear load garages. And then it changes the maximum width for attached front-loaded garages. The maximum width would be 10 feet. However, similar to detached garages, they would be allowed to be as wide as the garage, but the additional width can only extend for 20 feet from the face of the garage. And then it adds that it must taper down to a maximum of 10 feet in width within 30 feet of the face of the garage or the front property line, whichever comes first. The proposed text amendment also clarifies how front facade width is determined and how garage width is measured for attached front-loaded garages. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this at their, September meeting and recommended approval of the text amendment with some minor changes. One of those changes was that it would include a radius rather than a flare for driveway aprons. They said that based on our history of wanting to preserve green space in our parkways, since that's part of our landmark designation, that would be a prudent thing to do. So that was part of their recommendation, was to shift to the radius versus the flare to save more green space in the parkway.
Can you explain the difference?
Well, with the flare, you get a triangle, basically, on either side of your driveway. So that will be concrete that comes out, additional 3 feet as it comes towards the curb. With a radius, you kind of take that arc, and so you're getting a smaller amount of concrete there along the sides of the driveway, but it will allow for a better curve into the driveway. So we'll save some green space in the parkway, but still allow that movement to come into the driveway. Preservation Commission is also required to review all text amendments, so this was heard by the Preservation Commission, and they determined that this text amendment would not have any negative impact on the National Landmark District or the general plan of Riverside.
So I'd ask for a motion to approve an ordinance amending the Village of Riverside Village Code and zoning ordinances relative to garages and driveways.
I will make that motion.
By Mr. Gallegos,
Second.
by Mr. Pollock. Discussion, questions? Mr. Pollock?
I wanted to confirm that the 10-foot width has to be met before the property line or no more than 30 feet from the front of the garage, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Other comments? So I would just like to thank the ad hoc committee that spent quite a few months working on this. And I watched the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the last one where this was discussed, and I have to say it was like a master class in how a commission should operate. The depth of knowledge and sophistication and attention to detail that was shown by the commission was quite remarkable. So I just pass my congratulations and thanks on to them as well. With that, please call the roll.
Ben?
I'm sorry, yes.
Something. Are driveways that are not in compliance grandfathered?
Ms. Abt?
Yes, so the language in the code states that existing non-conforming driveways that exceed the maximum width are permitted to be maintained and can be rebuilt to their existing footprint.
Okay.
The only caveat with that is that the apron, if they were to replace it, would have to be replaced to meet our
Right.
radius requirement.
Okay.
Please call the roll.
Trustee Collins.
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos.
Aye.
Trustee Evans.
Aye.
Trustee Pollock.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is a continued discussion of the recommended fiscal year 2021 budget. Director Johns, you're back on base.
Good evening. Tonight before you is the 2021 budget proposed, which includes all funds. We started this discussion on September 3rd with the 2021 to 2030 capital improvement plan. Continued the discussion at our September 17th meeting with the 5-year financial forecast. And the general fund budget was discussed in detail on October 1st. The financial forecast presented a $316,019 deficit for the general fund in 2021. The general fund budget presented at the October 1st meeting had that reduced to a deficit of $132,499. I am happy to say that tonight's general fund budget is balanced. Also included in tonight's budget is the parking lot fund, which currently shows a deficit for 2020 and 2021 due to the decreased parking revenue in Lot 1. The water sewer fund currently budgeted a deficit of $170,521, but has sufficient fund balance to carry these capital projects. The debt service fund budget will be updated after a debt sale in early November. This is the sale for one of the last 2 payments for the Public Works facility. Staff is currently reviewing the motor fuel tax fund and capital funds to make sure that there are no additional rollover projects that will need to be added. Are there any questions with the budget presented before you tonight?
Trustees?
No, I just want to say thank you for working so hard and getting this into balance. Appreciate it.
It was quite a job this year, and we really do appreciate it. So is there anything you need from us other than a
No.
thank you? Okay. Do we have any new business this evening? Hearing none, we have no need for an executive session. So did you have something, Andrew? So I'd ask for a motion second to adjourn.
So moved.
By Mr. Gallegos,
Second.
by Ms. Collins. Please call the roll.
Trustee Collins.
Aye.
Trustee Gallegos.
Aye.
Trustee Evans.
Aye.
Trustee Polly.
Aye.
Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.